Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, Brian McWilliams, where we're going to be making some jokes, laughing out at broken world, but also laying out the philosophy for the future, how we can fix this mess we're in and have a great time doing it all with a Mean Age Daydream. What is going on, my sweet little love bunnies of 2025? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream. I'm, of course, your host, Brian McWilliams, here again. And what can you say? 2025. What a disappointment. We don't have teleporters yet, that we are not, in fact, on the moon yet, that we have not enhanced our freedoms, and in fact, are fighting for our very lives to keep them in many situations, especially coming out of the final death throes of COVID, which are still rattling around. I know in my travels over this past holiday, have seen enough dickheads in masks still outside, wearing masks that it does shake my head, and people are ridiculously broken. But still, hope springs eternal for 2025. And we're going to talk about something that I'm excited about in this year forthcoming, which, of course, is Donald Trump vowing to leave the World Health Organization. Is it possible to do that? I don't know. We'll talk about it. But before we do, guys, please, if you'd be so kind, go like the show, go hit that subscribe button, hit notify. We are shadow banned on YouTube, and YouTube, of course, has not softened its stance on censorship. Even right now, they're still banning content, removing content, flagging things left and right. So make sure to hit that notify button, or else you will not see our stuff. And of course, if you'd like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. All right. So some dork on YouTube is angry says that I called me around, which is entertaining, and that kids are getting diseases from me apparently not wearing a mask. Whatever floats your boat, guy. So World Health Organization. So the WHO, if you're unaware, is primarily funded by the United States. Virtually all of its funding comes from us. That's not, pumped up its ass by people like Bill Gates. But we are not in rare territory here when it comes to trying to escape it, trying to defund it. Ronald Reagan actually had defunded the funding for the World Health Organization coming from the U.S. And Donald Trump has once again said he wants to get out of it. Now, I would love this, especially considering that the World Health Organization had pushed out the pandemic treaty, which is essentially an overarching agreement between, whatever the member nations are, like 150 member nations, that would give the World Health Organization an unbelievable amount of power. And by that, I mean power to impose the same kind of draconian entry and exit systems, digital passports and digital identifications to show whether you have vaccinations. And it would give them power to not only create a emergency based upon, say, an actual virus, a pandemic style, let's say COVID, not only for a virus like that, but also, if you read into the language of the pandemic treaty, also diving into related items to human health. Now, what does that mean? Well, your guess is as good as mine, because it's intentionally vague language to allow them to basically make up whatever they want in order to impose these conditions. The most rational thing, if you look and read the room between what all these nutballs think about climate change, would be that they could, under the World Health Organization pandemic treaty, try to impose a lockdown style or some regulatory environment to fight climate change, because that is affecting the health of the population. If you think that that's not going to happen, well, let me tell you, we've heard them say it with their own mouths. I mean, the current King of England, who it's funny, we never really talked about King Charles, but the King of England is on record saying that we have to view climate change and essentially view it as though we are fighting an actual war. And I've made this point before. If you're talking about fighting a war, well, then that means that you can go ahead and ration people's sustenance, ration how much meat they're taking in, ration how much energy they use, ration fuel, everything, name it. You're now in the conditions wherein not only is the government, if they're fighting a war, able to control what you consume, where you go, how you live your life, but also that can give them the power to change and alter the way in which manufacturing is handled. So this is all kind of dovetailing into this one world, one control, mantra that people like Klaus Schwab is prescribing. And the World Health Organization is a prime conduit for that. It is a prime driver, not only because all of these member nations are involved with it, and again, behind the scenes, these bureaucrats that we never get to interact with, but beyond that, you have to think about how the World Health Organization also has the power of fear on its side. I mean, look at what happened during COVID. The World Health Organization advises the CDC. You've got Fauci out there saying, well, the World Health Organization is telling me to do it. Well, who am I to argue? The CDC is going to take their lead. Okay, great. So you use the power of fear in order to crush people. And let's not forget, crushing free speech, crushing free movement, crushing industries, stopping people from going to see loved ones dying in hospitals, and also creating all sorts of problems with cancers and other things popping up and spreading that would have been caught in the first part because they use the fear as a cudgel. We've seen them do it not only with COVID, but with things like the bird flu. And wow, just like that, the bird flu's making a big comeback too, isn't it? Yes, of course, because there's always got to be the specter of a fear, a demon that's going to come in, stalk you in the night, take you and your family, take them out back, and do terrible things to them. Well, that's currently the bird flu. It was COVID, but leaving the World Health Organization, that gives us an out. That means we don't have to play the game. The question, I think, is, let's say we do defund it. Let's say the United States pulls out. Okay, well then what's going to happen to the United States per the other countries in this organization? Because one of my concerns, and I could see them threatening this, but I doubt they'll actually do it, would be that the other countries, let's say they stay in it, let's say they manage to find the funding somewhere, again, Bill Gates comes in, they managed to keep it going, but now are they going to threaten the United States by saying, well, since you're not in the World Health Organization, we can't have any input on your health standards, on your what you might need to go into our countries, and we don't trust that anymore, right? We all want these digital passports that show your immunity systems and your status. Well, if you don't have them, you're not allowed to come into the country. I could see that being a threat. I could see that being something that they try to use as a cudgel in order to keep the United States in line and shocking money into this garbage system full of self-interested control mongers. The thing that I think is probably going to keep us safe, though, is that at the end of the day, these other member nations need the United States far more than the United States needs them. So, yeah, they can rattle their sabers. They can threaten that, that we're going to be even more isolated, and the isolationists will come out of the woodwork and saying that we're isolating ourselves from the world. But at the end of the day, we should be able to ditch this albatross that's been hanging around our neck and move forward into a much more free and beneficial future. Okay, so that's the World Health Organization. By the way, this is going to be another short show, guys, because again, it's like, it's New Year's week. My kid is going to be home any minute from the camp because her school is still closed. And I don't even know how many people are going to be tuning in for this episode. So let's talk about a couple of the things real quick. Because one thing that really bugged the living shit out of me is this terrorist attack, which was essentially a copycat attack by this guy. Hold on, I just looked up his identification. Shamsuddin Jabbar, a former U.S. Navy and U.S. Army intelligence officer. He apparently is the suspect that has been identified in the attack in New Orleans, where he took a truck and ran into a bunch of people on Bourbon Street. This is the man who they're identifying. Now, when this initially happened, everybody said, oh, was it an accident? Is it not? The way these things are reported. And this is very key because this is a copycat attack. Another attack in the exact same vein had just happened and had the similar thing, running into people in the street in a car. Frankly, surprising that more attacks of this nature don't happen. And I'm sure the Democrats will call for banning cars, right? Because God knows you can't have anybody do anything because you got to ban it. Got to make sure that the world's a safe place. So this guy is copycatting the other attack, which I believe happened in Germany. And that initial attack was reported, even though it was undertaken by somebody that was clearly involved with one of the, Al-Qaeda, ISIS organized groups. This is clearly a religious-based attack. They identified in every story, not that this was a terrorist attack, right? All these headlines read, truck run, vehicle rams into crowd, not terrorist attack is taken under place utilizing a vehicle. They bury the lead. And then if you go into the story, oh, okay, there's the actual headline, because they're still under the delusion that they need to protect what? I don't know, Muslims? Or do they think there's going to be a massive backlash against Muslims in this country if you report the facts as they are? It just seems ridiculous to obfuscate this fact. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised because if you're a member of the regime that has been putting us into this war on terror, which has just been going on and on and on, a blank check, an open excuse for us to continue funding the military-industrial complex, go off on militaristic exploring all over the world, and frankly create more terrorists, because all this does is create more terrorists, more backlash, more ill will, and for no good reason. For no good reason. I mean, there's no excuse for us still being in the Middle East and fucking around in that region. Well, this guy, Jabbar, when this initial attack happened, it was reported that we just don't know what's happening. They even covered up the ISIS flag on the truck. I mean, the flag's on the truck, and they covered up the flag in these pictures. Oh, because why? Because it would have been too obvious what happened? I mean, why try to control the narrative in this way? Well, it's finally come out that, yes, this guy did this attack. He was inspired by ISIS. And part of me wonders, okay, this guy's a former U.S. Navy, former U.S. Army. He's inspired by the attacks here. Is it because he's seeing the evils that have been played out by America? No, that's not an excuse for, ramming into individuals and innocent people on a street. That's just madness. But I do have to wonder, how many of our men, we know they killed themselves after seeing action in Iraq and Afghanistan and everywhere else. Well, are they, similar to this guy? Is this going to be a new generation of men that are now turned towards ISIS because of the atrocities they've witnessed on behalf of the United States that they were taking part in as members of the military? I could certainly see that. Yeah, not to excuse it, but I could certainly see it. Now, the reaction to this, once it actually came out, and, basically we had a ridiculous situation where the college football playoff was supposed to take place in New Orleans, right? This is last night. It was supposed to take place between, who was playing? I think Georgia and Notre Dame. So even though this attack happened on Bourbon Street and it didn't happen at the Superdome, which is where the college football playoff game was supposed to take place, well, the assholes decided, well, we're going to cancel the game. We're going to postpone it. So it's not cancel. It gets postponed until today. And it starts, I believe, at 4 p.m. I'm not sure at 4 p.m. Eastern. Maybe it's on right now. But they postponed the game. Why? Out of quote-unquote caution? Because what? They thought that there were going to be more truck attacks? They're going to ram into the side of the Superdome? I mean, it's assumedly extremely fucking stupid. So they postponed the game, but I'm sitting here watching this and going, if you do this, if you're capitulating in this manner, number one, the terrorists win. Right? That's the entire idea behind terrorist attacks, is that you go out there, you disrupt society, you cause a bunch of strife, and then people are living in fear, right? There was this, the old saying, what was it, Bush? We will not negotiate with terrorists. Well, if you are capitulating this way, if because this incident happens in the same city as a big event, and now you're canceling shit willy-nilly, well, they have won. You are upending society. You are upending civilization and the way it is operating and running. Now, that's stupid on its face. And there's no amount of caution that makes sense here because they've got security in place. I'm sure the Superdome is monitored well beyond what normal security would be anyway at this point in time. And not only are you, yet for no good reason delaying this, I would say you're honestly endorsing more people to take this action. You are providing feedback instantaneously, fucking mind you, instantaneous feedback, because they canceled the game in very fast fashion, that this terrorist attack has succeeded, that this tactic does in fact work, that you will get coverage, that there will be a response, that the government system, the systems will go into place, the people in power will take the freak out option every time. And now, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think there's going to be ever more copycats? And I'll tell you what, it's pretty fucking easy to do if all you need to do is get a car. I mean, I almost wonder, is my rental insurance going to go up for cars now because they have to insure themselves against fucking terrorists renting them and ramming them into people? Just like my insurance went up after those assholes, a jury of assholes in a civil suit. Civil suit's one of the most ridiculous things in our society right now. Awarded some chick $200 million because she got an STD in the fucking car. Are we going to have terrorist fees now? I mean, I know the Biden administration said they were going to get rid of all the hidden fees. Is that one a hidden fee that they can now eliminate, or is it going to be tacked on for me? I really need to know. But regardless, it just pisses me off. You're going to have more copycats because, as a system, they've capitulated. They've rolled over. They've tacitly admitted that terrorism wins. So you're going to reap what you sow here. I can virtually guarantee it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really want to talk about today. I think I'm just going to save it for next week, to be perfectly honest, guys. As I said, I'm, it's a little bit of a slow time for news in general as we wait for Donald Trump to come in. I will say, though, I'll just kind of waxing poetic here. I will say it's interesting seeing what's going on right now between Trump, between Elon Musk, and between Vivek Ramaswamy. I debated whether or not I wanted to talk about this because it's kind of a little bit dated now, but I'll just throw a quick 2 cents in on Vivek essentially talking about the H-1B visa program, right, which is supposedly supposed to bring in these high-skilled workers and has definitely been abused. You have companies, I was looking at one that was like just for the video game industry, where you've got workers being hired under this H-1B visa system for, $75,000 a year jobs, essentially doing copywriting. I mean, that's not what it's supposed to be for. It's supposed to be for high level personnel that are hard to find here in the United States. But at the same time, Vivek's broader point about culture, about the culture that celebrates the jock instead of the mathlete, I mean, that does resonate. I think there's some truth to that. Now, it's not to saying that overarchingly you shouldn't also celebrate jocks in athletics. I mean, I played a ton of sports growing up. But at the same time, I always think about like the film industry and our celebrity obsessed culture right now, and how celebrities, actors, essentially flesh puppets, they go up there. The people talk about these people as though they're walking gods, the golden calf here. They're on film cover, or they're on magazine covers. They're paid millions and millions of dollars, and that the writer of the movie is not feted, is not known. It should be like a Shakespeare, right? The writer is the genesis of the concept, of the idea, of everything. It starts with the writer. That should be the person we're kissing ass. Not the director, not the producers, not the fucking bullshit celebrities, the writer. So to that point, I get what Vivek is saying, and how if you don't have a culture that is pushing people to get better, to excel in areas that are not simply popularity or beauty pageants, then yes, you are going to have to bring in other talent from cultures that do focus more on hard work, on education, on excelling. I mean, I've never seen a response so vicious from the MAGA side of things on this issue to something that makes complete and perfect sense to me. From a fundamental perspective of a country, and I'm not an open borders guy at this point in time under our current welfare system, but the dream is that you have the option for people to come in, that you do have the best and the brightest from other countries coming in here. You want that for society. It makes everything better. It raises all ships. Similar, I've been talking about capitalism, raising all ships. Well, having better brain power raises ships, and especially in an era when we have average IQs dropping. Especially in an era when you have birth rates dropping. So yes, give me the super brains from abroad, please. But it is fair to say that there's abuse in the system, and it has to be cleaned up. You should not be able to just, to use this to quote unquote take jobs away from Americans that could easily do those jobs, because these people may be willing to work for less money, or maybe are working harder than Americans. And I think in our current era of millennial whining and, Gen Y or Gen Z, or not Gen Z, what is it? Millennials, and I don't even know what the next generation after millennials is called now. But you've got this system wherein people are coming out. Hiring managers don't want to work with these people because they are entitled little shits, because they are whining, because they don't want to work hard, because they call out because they woke up feeling sad. When you've got these generations that are rolling out there that have been so coddled and frankly are graduating from a broken academic system, which is teaching them shit. Why would you not want to get somebody from a better culture to come in? Why? I don't know. I just don't understand what the disconnect is. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I will say, I think that the Vivek, Musk, Trump triumvirate is still pretty strong there. people were asking, is this going to break up the team? Oh my God, is this the thing that's going to cause the wedge between Elon Musk and Donald Trump? No, I don't think so. I think there's a possibility that there could be a falling out between those because there's two big egos. But for this time, I mean, come on. There's far too much benefit to Donald Trump by having Musk in there, a man who's proven to be able to get things done, and Vivek, who's very smart, who already has plans in place. I mean, Vivek tactically had some of the better plans that I saw when he had run for president as far as how to break down government institutions into either elimination or into parts that can be more serviceable, manageable, efficient. So both of them bring too much to the table. And seeing, the MAGA people just completely lose their minds over this, and, they took your jobs bullshit was just ridiculous. And frankly, also, I mean, come on, guys. You can look in the mirror. You can see the problems with American culture. To pretend those aren't there and to try to beat your chest about the American worker is just fucking stupid. If you don't see the problem to diagnose it, you can't fix the problem. Now, yes, getting rid of the Department of Education could go a long way towards improving our American workforce, as can overhauling our collegiate system. But it still has to start at home as well. It's just to be a culture at home as well of pushing your kids, of not being a friend, but being a parent, of pushing education, of taking the time and the effort to put your fucking phone down and actually talk to your kid and make sure that they are emotionally doing well, that they are intellectually doing well, and that they can actually keep their shit together and have a conversation while being able to operate and do two things at once, chewing bubblegum and patting your head without having a complete fucking meltdown. Otherwise, you're going to see why these companies continue to import talent that should and could be fostered here. All right, that's it, guys. Sorry for the short show today. I'll be back with a full episode next week, and we'll get right back to it on our regular schedule when the children are gone. The holidays are fully over. All right, that's it. From me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream. Keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. Later.